everyone. Welcome into my channel. I'm sure a lot of people, maybe some of you know who I am, but hopefully more of you even know Fisishine, my special guest here today. Hello, Fizzy.
Hello.
Would you like to introduce yourself as much as you'd like?
Yes, sure. Hi, I'm Fizzy. I'm an artist, screamer, and variety streamer on Twitch. I also happen to do some science as my study and work occupation. And Tofu so graciously asked me to do this tech talk with her. So I'm very excited about that because I get to talk about nerdy stuff.
So, just a heads up to everyone what Tofu Tech Talk is. I hope to grab at least one guest every month, hopefully more, of Twitch streamers who have science and technology backgrounds. And Fizzy is my second guest, and she does have a science and technology background. Like she introduced herself there. She has a nerd background, is one way to say it.
Yes,
but
yes.
she's a very useful scientist. She's a more useful scientist than me. She's a material scientist, from what I understand. And you're still in your studies, is that correct?
Yes. I am currently finishing my bachelor's degree, which is, I think, undergrad in English,
Yeah,
right?
bachelor's as well, we say too.
Okay. Yeah. Though, just disclaimer, in Austria we have a bit of a different study system, so therefore I need way longer than usually people need because they kind of cramped the whole engineer into just the bachelor's, and you do a lot of stuff that you're supposed to do in your master's, so you need a little bit longer than you would usually. So I'm just finishing it right now, and afterwards I can do my master's. So I study material science, which is an engineering degree, and when I graduate, I am a full-fledged engineer. Like, don't worry, I will not build bridges because they would probably collapse, but I can make the material for the bridges, for
Which won't
example.
collapse.
Yeah, so material science has a lot of studies like physics, chemistry. We have a lot of mechanics. We also have quantum mechanics for some reason, solid state physics, and the list can kind of go on. So we're very well rounded, like a jack of all trades, but we're not specialized in anything.
Mm.
You can choose that in your master's. So yeah, basically, this is what I do.
And you're so while you're being a student, you're also working as a lab assistant. Is that correct?
Yes, I work as a part-time research assistant, which means I do the dirty lab work that the researchers don't want to do or don't know how to do. And here I come in and I do my magic, and he's very happy with what I do.
Nice. So you're doing all the hard labor, and you're the last name on any publication, unfortunately, even though you do all the work.
I don't think he will even I don't think my boss will even include my name, honestly, because
No,
yeah,
really?
yeah,
Oh my
no, he
god.
won't. I will
That's
tell you. Well,
audacious.
when we come there, I will tell you a bit more about what I actually do, and this is kind of funny. This is actually kind of funny, but yeah.
Goddamn. When I was writing my paper, I literally had to sit down with my supervisor and we are like, who helped me? I added a girl on my paper who helped me lift a bucket for my experiment. She lifted a
Oh,
bucket for me and I added her name on my paper.
oh wow.
That's how
Oh, I
thorough
would.
I add people's names on my
Okay,
paper.
okay. You will
Work
love
for
my
me.
story later.
Work for me,
Yeah.
Fizzy. Let's
Um,
open a tofu lab instead.
let's add all the lab rats in there.
Mm. We have plenty of lab rats in the chat, so it's all good.
I love the new emote, by the way.
Oh
It's
my
adorable.
god, Medjay absolutely outdid it. To anyone watching the stream, we have a lab rat emote, and of course, it can't just be one wobbling. It's like a million lab rats marching in here.
It's all the way to the right. Yeah. Hope your boss doesn't watch it, which no, actually nobody, very few people from real life know what I do in my free time.
Oh, no one
Yeah.
knows they're your Twitch stream. That's nice. We'll keep,
Yeah.
we'll try to keep the anonymity here. So as we continue,
Yeah, full
so
privacy.
I'm going in blind into this podcast. I
Mm-hmm.
have no idea what
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be talking about. I don't know. Like, I
Okay.
understand what material science is. I did 3 subjects in it in my applied physics, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
know what we're going to do today.
That's totally fine. I will
Cool.
take your hands and I will guide you through this talk, and I hope everybody will be smarter afterwards.
Crossing fingers. I'm ready to be
Crossing
smarter.
fingers.
I'm
Okay.
hoping to raise my IQ by 1 at least today. That'll be a
That's
goal.
that's the goal.
That's the
That's
goal.
the goal.
Raise my IQ by 1.
Okay, I did send you a small
Yes.
presentation.
Do you want me to open it now?
Yes,
Okay,
because
so
yes.
will you guide me when to click, when to go back?
Yes, yes. It's not a lot, so yeah, just like a placeholder. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you.
There we go.
Okay. So, material science, an absolutely serious introduction. Welcome to this amazing podcast. So, let's start with what is material science? Basically, it's the study or understanding of material properties, often so on microscopic level, meaning how can we explain mechanical properties, electrical properties, chemical and biological properties. And
Mm.
so that means we love our atoms. We want to know what happens to them, how they interact with each other, and how can we modify the way that they built up the structure. So if we go, for example, into electrical properties, this is important when you know your quantum mechanics, your basic physics, all that good stuff, and so on and so forth. Okay, so now that we've got that, we can click onto the next slide, which says how to material
There
science.
we go. Wait.
That's fine. That's
You're a
fine.
lab rat. Become a lab
Yes.
rat.
Become a lab rat. Embrace your white coats and abandon sunlight because we're staying indoors doing experiments. So, material science is basically that's basically it. You do empirical research of material behavior in the lab, where you try to analyze production processes, failure processes, and also quality assurance when you produce something. So it's crucial that you basically do a lot of repetitive research and
Mm.
analyze the data.
Mm.
Yes, and we love our Excel spreadsheets. Well, I don't, but you know,
Your research group uses Excel as well?
yes,
Yes,
it's
everyone.
excruciating. I hate it. One copy pasta too much, and everything's gone.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, we're gonna stay here for a bit because now I'm actually gonna dive into what I actually work as a research assistant.
we can see a photo of you
So,
here in your lab,
yeah,
in your natural
this is
environment.
exactly this is Goblin in her natural environment. So, as I said, I'm a research assistant. And as I said before, I do the whole dirty job that nobody, like the researchers, don't want to do. Those are the PhD people that sit in their offices and tell me like, I need to do this experiment, but I don't know how. And you're like, I got this.
Wow,
Yeah. So
PhD
this is what I
students
do.
get help? That's amazing. I really got
Well,
cheated out of my PhD. I was the one who was helping everyone because I'm the PhD student. I'm redundant. We have clearly different two experiences.
well, that's at least how like my research runs.
Yeah, it's interesting. Although, again, so you said yours is in engineering. I really thought you were more of a
Yeah.
physicist with your degree title than an engineer.
Yeah. Well, funny thing is, like, we are the physicists of the engineers.
Ah, I see, I see.
Yeah, so the uni that I go to is basically a fully engineering uni. We don't have anything else.
Mm.
So it's only like tech students. I don't know what you learn in like history or arts or anything else. So we have mechanical engineers, we have logistics, we have data analysts, like analysts.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how you say
Yeah,
that in
that's
English.
right.
Yeah, all that good stuff. And people always say like, oh yeah, material scientists. You're like the physicists of this uni. Yeah. So on this photo, you see me on an internship where I was doing research on materials failure. That was actually what
Ah.
my bachelor's thesis is about. Currently, I am working for the steel industry. And to describe it shortly, we research new steels. The long
Oh.
version, the long version is we research phase diagrams of steel alloys, um, also known as like how do phase diagrams of new alloys look like? Can we rely on previous databases of previous alloys? And how can we influence the phase diagrams?
Okay.
That is the longer version. And before I go into full explanation about phase diagrams on alloys, let's start with what are phase diagrams, which is on the next slide.
Oh, I can actually see your mouse, so you can guide me. This is great.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you can
I
see
did.
my mouse?
Yeah, so because we're sharing it in the Word doc, I think
Oh,
that's
that's
actually really
amazing.
cool.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, but I don't think chat sees it. So
Oh, they don't see me.
yeah,
Okay, that's good. That's good.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so to explain what phase diagrams are, let's take something that everybody knows, which is water.
Mm-hmm.
And here
Oh
you
God.
see, yeah, here you see on the x-axis the temperature, and on the y-axis the pressure. And those are the two key components that you can adjust and change the phase of your water. The phase is basically the state in which the water appears. So we have vapor, ice, which is solid, and water, which is liquid.
You
So
mentioned phase diagram and ice. We have to ask then: is ice a rock? You know, I
is
don't know if you.
ice a rock?
Yes, is ice a rock? But based on science.
Based on science. Well, the definition of a rock is basically something that is solid. You can.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think a rock is more something of a ceramic or like an
Ah,
organic material.
I see.
So it's yeah. So it's not only defined by its shape or like mechanical properties. It's
Mm,
also more what it's made out of.
it's
I wouldn't call a steel ingot a rock, for example, even
yeah.
though it's also hard.
I see. I see.
Eggs are rocks, no cyclophilin. So the important thing that I want you to take from here is how you can adjust the way your water appears based on those two components.
Okay.
So if you stay at the same pressure, for example, at zero point 0.6 kilopascal,
Mm-hmm.
but you increase the temperature, you go from solid to water vapor according to the temperature, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you also do the same vice versa, where you stay at the same temperature, let's say 100 degrees, and you have water vapor, and you move up with the pressure, you will get liquids after you hit the critical point, which is the black line that separates all the phases.
Okay.
Are you still with me so far?
Yes. Yes.
Amazing. So the next question is, how can we apply this on solids? And how can solids have different phases? Um, so first of all, we have to establish what is a solid phase. And for that, I would want you to click on the next slide, please.
Yes.
Yes, amazeballs. So remember when I said that we love our atoms? Well, yes, we absolutely do. The reason is that atoms, they make up everything. Adums. That was a pun intended. Um, so where we start, the solid structure is defined by the crystal structure which the atoms make up. So on the left, you see a crystalline structure. On the right, amorphous, which is
Mm-hmm.
like basically something soft. Um, I will
Squishy.
I will stay yes, squishy. I will stay on the example of metals. And here on the left, we have the atom of the same elements, like iron, for example.
Mm.
If you stack them up in two-dimensional, you can see they align all perfectly. If you move on to the next slide,
Yes.
you will see that there are different ways to stack up atoms. And you can also insert different elements to your iron. For example, carbon. We will see one later. But for simplicity, let's just stick to two components. And you can stack them up differently. Now here we still have a two-dimensional structure. If you continue your stacking and you look at the whole structure in 3D, which is
Mm-hmm.
on the next slide, you will
Wow.
have something like
Is
this.
that salt?
Exactly. Might be. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Google didn't tell me what atoms they were. It could be basically anything. It's
Yeah, it
just
does
like,
look a little bit like salt. I don't remember exactly, but yes.
yeah, but I think it also has a cubic structure if I remember correctly.
Mm.
Yeah, so if you continue stacking with elements, they take up the positions with the lowest possible energy according to thermodynamics,
Mm-hmm.
which is defined by the size of the atoms, how many outer electrons they have, and the list goes on. If you look at the structure, you will realize that some of them align into small blocks that you can put repeatedly on top of each other, and you will have basically the whole material. So if you go to the next slide, you will see such structures.
Wow.
Yeah, this is my
Oh
bread and
God.
butter. This is what I live by. I inhale this every morning as a material scientist.
Oh my goodness, I'm getting such a trauma from my lectures now. I exactly know what I did for this. This was microscopy.
Oh, really?
Yes, for the TEM, the big giant things to find the
Mm-hmm.
atom. This is what I
Mm-hmm.
studied. Oh Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, okay. That's good. That's good. That's good to know.
No, no, no. That scared me. I don't want to talk
Yes,
about
yes,
this.
yes. Okay, so we basically the stacking of the atoms that you see, like a simple cubic, body center
Mm-hmm.
cubic, face center cubic, those are basically the most important structures for iron alloys. This
Iron.
is
Okay.
yeah, for iron. This is what this is what I'm working with every day. You also have a whole ton of different structures, but it will just create a supernova in your head because there are way too many, to be honest.
Mm.
Especially if you look like at aluminum alloys with various structures, it gets very complicated.
Mm.
Are there more crystal structures?
The more crystals.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Just like I said, if you look at different metal alloys, you will encounter different structures. Um, for simplicity, we will keep it to those three, though you will just see them now because I think you all will get a supernova in your head. Yeah. So this is basically how solid material is being formed and defines in its properties. All these structures that you see have different electrical, chemical, and mechanical properties, which is what you
Due
try
to
to
their
design. Yes,
orientation, is it?
exactly.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah, I don't really want to go into that because that's a bit too
Yeah.
much.
That's
But
heavy.
yeah, that's pretty heavy. I had like a whole semester just about that. But basically, every cubic structure has its own defined characteristics.
Mm-hmm.
And at the beginning of every production, you try to tackle down what characteristics you want to have, what elements form these structures, and how much do you have to implement into your alloy to get to these mechanical properties. This is what you try to do when you design a metal, for example, or any material.
Okay, I see.
Okay, now that we know how solids can have different structures, we will try to apply that onto phase diagrams, which is a bit scarier. But don't worry, I got your back. We're gonna go to the next slide.
Let's
Thank you,
go.
Tofu. Let's go. Okay, don't
Oh,
panic. The
Jesus
right thing,
Christ.
the right thing is a bit scary, I know, but I want you to
We
look on the
need panic
left.
in the chat. No, we need panic in the chat. No, 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 no. We're losing our shit. What is this? We graduated school. Why are we why are we
We'll be back to
doing this?
it.
This is trauma.
Okay, okay. Now that you all panicked, I want you to take a deep breath. Precisely like that. Okay, so let's take a look back at our water phase diagram.
Mm-hmm.
And If you look at the x-axis, you see temperature, and the y-axis we have pressure.
Yes.
Now we can apply same principle to solids, but we will exchange the temperature on the x-axis with percentage of one element. So you
Okay.
have your base element on in this example, which is copper.
Mm-hmm.
And as further you go to the right, the more nickel you are adding to your
Ah.
base matrix. Exactly.
So 50,
And
50% would be
mhm,
half copper and half nickel.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And on the y-axis, you will have the temperature. So if we apply the same principle from the water phase diagram onto our solid phase diagram, you will see that with varying parameters of nickel and temperature, you change the way the points where your solid turns into liquid.
Okay.
So if you look at this straight line that goes from copper to nickel,
Yeah.
this is your melting points. So you're increasing your melting points as you add more nickel to copper.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. And here you have two phases, which are states of matter. Alpha is just a crystal structure, which we've seen on the previous slide, but
Oh,
it's not
yes.
important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you have the second phase, which is liquid, when
Mm.
everything is just a big atomic soup.
And is this
And
constant pressure then all of this diagram?
yes, this is at a constant pressure
Okay.
because pressure in solid states doesn't have a lot of influence. Therefore, we can extract it from the whole process.
Oh, really? I didn't know that pressure
Yeah.
doesn't have that much influence. I thought, I don't know
Yeah.
why I assumed. I thought, blacksmiths and everything, pressure is really important, but I guess I didn't realize it wasn't.
Yeah. In solids, you would have to apply so much pressure to have any impact that it's like
Mm,
basically you can't really do that, and there's like not really a point of doing that. There's also a different formula to calculate the phase diagrams with solids and with liquids.
I see.
Yeah, exactly. So I want you to look at the thing in the middle where you have this space between the solidus and the liquidus,
Oh,
where
okay,
you
yeah.
have L plus alpha.
Yes.
This is a two-phase, how do I say that? Two-phase space where you have both solids and liquids
Ah,
appearing.
what is that called
Yeah.
again? I think you're on the right track. It makes sense what you said anyway, word wise, but there is a word for it. I know
Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My whole science is in German. It's a bit like I have to switch it in my head a little bit.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, so
yeah.
you're doing absolutely amazing explaining everything so far
Thank
in
you.
English when you learned this all in a completely different language. Absolutely phenomenal, phenomenal so far. I have no
Thank
excuses,
you.
and yet I mess up all my words all the time.
Phase
Please go on.
sense.
Please, sorry, keep
Yeah.
going.
So when you vary your parameters, either concentration of nickel or the temperature, you also vary how big this this space with two phases is. If you look at it,
Hmm.
like the liquidus line is like a parable,
Yeah.
and the solidus is a straight line.
Hmm.
So obviously you will have like a little bit more, like a bigger space in the middle where you have two phases at the same time, as opposed to either um, cold temperatures or warm temperatures. So
Okay.
yeah, this if you've gotten this,
Okay.
then you understand the absolute important basic stuff about
Material
uh
science.
yeah, this this
Woohoo!
this guys who made it.
We're graduating, team. Let's
We're
go.
graduating. You are a scientist now. Here's your medal.
Lab rats
Okay.
assemble. Let's
Lab rats
go.
assemble. Okay, now that what you see on the right is a case for two elements that are fully soluble with each other,
Okay.
meaning they both have very similar properties and therefore can form the same structure. And here it is like in here, wow,
Hmm.
sorry. Here it is the alpha structure.
Okay.
Now, what happens if two elements are not fully soluble? And that we will see on the next slides.
Ooh.
It's okay to panic.
This
You
looks
can jump out of
pretty
the
at
window.
least, okay? So a scientist would look at this and be like, interesting, very informative. What I see
Looks like
is
a
like a
party
hat.
hat.
Yeah, I like it's
Yes,
a
the party hat.
party hat.
You'd say it's a party hat. Let's go.
I'm so glad that we all thought it was a party hat.
It's totally a party hat.
There we go.
Okay. Okay. So here it is a more simple concept because there are not a lot of systems in real life where you actually have two elements you can take as an example. So here the two elements are represented by A on the left
Mm-hmm.
and B on the right. So it's still the same as before.
Mm-hmm.
We are going from left to right and adding more and more of component B,
Mm-hmm.
and the temperature on the y-axis. It's still the same.
Yeah.
So, but the difference here is the two Greek, what you call that?
Beta and alpha, or which one are you looking
Yes,
at?
alpha. Yeah,
Okay.
you see two different. I forgot. I need a specific word. Give me a sec.
No worries.
Letter. Wow, physio.
Oh.
You serious?
Oh
Letters. Thank
no.
you. Yeah, you have two different Greek letters in this diagram, which means we have two different crystal structures. And on the far left, you see alpha, and on the far right, you see beta. So
Mm-hmm.
that means atom A prefers to be in alpha structure, and atom B prefers to be in beta structure.
Okay.
So if you add to the component A more of component B, you notice that in the middle you have a two-phase place where you can have A and B, alpha and beta. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, I'm
No, no,
slipping.
A and B. It's okay. It's what alpha and beta is technically A and B, so it's all good.
Yeah, yeah. So you can have both structures at the same time, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Which is good because in materials, you kind of want to compromise a lot of contradicting properties. So, for example, structure A can be very soft and tensile, but structure B is very brittle and hard. And when you combine those two structures in varying concentrations, you can have very different properties. And this is
Okay.
what you kind of try to design when you create metals.
Hmm.
You with me so far?
Yes.
Amaze balls. Yeah, we also have two phase places like liquid and alpha on the left and liquid with beta on the right. And we also have the fully liquid soup all above. So it's the same principle from before, just we have one phase more.
Okay. You
So this
you were
is
sorry, just to interrupt. You were saying that this, unlike the last example, where it was copper and nickel we were talking about,
mhm.
this is just A and B, just two elements. Is it
Yes, two
because
elements.
is it because not all elements, not many elements follow this diagram, or you can't find elements that behave like exactly like this, or is there a reason why?
There are elements that behave that way, but this specific diagram that you see is
Mm-hmm.
always like a small part of the whole big
Of the
diagram.
story. Okay, I see.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So if I showed like the big whole diagram, it would be a bit too overwhelming in the beginning.
I
So
see.
people always show this small like this small extraction from the big whole
Mm.
to explain the principle.
Yes, I understand. I see. Perfect.
Yeah. We will actually see it reappear
Oh.
soon.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
So, if you understood that, that is your step number two to become a material scientist because this is my second bread and butter that I live by every day. Let's go. Okay. Um, can it be even more complicated? Yes, on the next
Of
slide.
course. Of course. Oh my God.
You don't have to understand it.
Oh
It's just an
Jesus.
example.
Is this even
What you see,
English? What the
yes, it
hell?
is.
Some of
It
that
is.
doesn't even look English. I don't think
It
so.
is English.
I think you're making up stuff now. I think this is being made up. This. Oh wait, look. You guys see, really zoom in. This is where the duck things are happening. That's where the duck's face is. At those little parts. Jesus Christ. All right, sorry.
Yeah. This is the iron and carbon diagram, the simplest of them all, basically,
Wow.
and something you have to learn by heart for you, like for your studies. Like I have a lot of exams where you have to learn by heart what, like at what points what happens, and I must tell you, I do know a lot of those points literally by heart because
Wow.
of how many times I've seen it. I use it for work every day, for example. Yeah, but I will not go into this one. This is just to scare you off.
Nice. This is just to scare us a little bit.
Keeping you on your toes. And on the next slide, you will see my first reaction when I saw this diagram.
Pika. Oh.
Yeah. What?
I see. Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
should have been the first slide for our that's all our faces, all our lab rat faces.
You're like, the fuck?
Exactly.
This is all students when they have not learned this for the exam. What do you mean it was relevant for the exam?
Damn.
Anyways, now that we got this down, this is what I do for my work. We try to construct and analyze phase diagrams like this, and therefore to understand an alloy much better,
So
like how.
you're working on drawing this, like you are working on developing a
Yes,
graph. Okay.
yes. I live with data. I dance with data. I eat lunch with data. I look at it, and
Data
yeah,
is a very nice
Excel.
person, to be fair. He tries with
Yeah.
his jokes. He's learning. He's learning.
Okay. We will stay on this one though.
Okay.
And the question now is, how can you measure phase diagrams? And the answer to that is differential scanning calorimetry,
Well, that's big
which is a
words.
very, very long, fancy word for something actually still very long and still very fancy. Um, what you basically do, you have your metal sample,
Mm-hmm.
very, very small. It's 1 by 1 by 2 millimeters small, and you put it into a machine
Mm-hmm.
that heats up your probe up
Mm-hmm.
to the melting point, and it measures the change of I forgot the word, CP.
Okay.
Gosh, give me a sec. I'll have to translate it.
No worries.
Heat capacity. There you go.
Ah. Okay.
Which measures the change of your heat capacity according to the temperature.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the next slide,
Yep.
um, this is a very, very simple, small measurement.
Oh. Okay. This is
Yeah,
nice graphs.
this is
This
this
is
is
not
nice
so
and simple.
scary.
This is not so scary. Yeah, so you basically measure temperature versus heat capacity change. And the reason why it enables you to know that phase transitions um, are, oh gosh, well, okay, let me start from the beginning.
Yeah. No
Um,
worries.
the reason why you know when phase transitions appear is by those peaks, and
Mm-hmm.
also like at the beginning of those peaks. So at every phase transition, your crystal structure basically forms into a different structure. So your
Okay.
atoms rearrange, and that
Okay.
results in either release of heat
Mm-hmm.
or absorption of heat.
Oh
And
yes. Okay.
yes, and that is something you can measure. Now, if you look at those peaks,
Yeah.
you don't know, like the machine doesn't tell you, oh, you had phase transition from alpha to beta. It doesn't know that. You will have to compare your data to a pre-existing phase diagram of
Mm-hmm.
that alloy, and you basically have to guess where the phase transitions occur, which
Okay.
sounds which sounds a bit silly, but this is basically what you have to do.
Okay.
Um, And if you go to the next slide, this is a more complicated one. It's actually
It's
a
not too bad.
it's
You've
not too bad.
traumatized us already, so it's okay. Everything is easy from here.
Cannot scare you anymore.
Yeah,
Damn it.
we're scarred for life. We're all sorted now.
Yeah, so this is a measurement of actually a for some reason a protein which doesn't make a lot of sense. I
That's
didn't
okay.
find anything for metals, but this is what a signal usually looks like, and you compare it to your pre-existing data and basically try to simulate or like to draw the phase diagram. Yeah, this is what I do. I've done a whole bunch of different alloys and projects.
Okay.
I've learned a lot about what elements change your diagrams, like change your temperature.
Mm-hmm.
So I get to apply my knowledge to the fullest, and even beyond that, I think I learn a lot more things that I'm actually taught, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
I
Um,
see.
Coming back to where you said the does my boss mention me in his stuff? No, he
Paper.
doesn't. And let
I'll
and
hop
let me
out
tell
here
you,
out of this. We need
and
our
let me
faces for this.
the thing is, when we do new alloys, I basically mix together the elements. I create the alloy, I cut the samples, I do the measurements, I record the data, I extract the data, I draw the whole diagram. I also interpret like what phase changes occur. I did the whole interpretation part. I did his PowerPoint presentation where I was presenting the research like from A
At a
to
conference.
basically Z. Yeah, and he was like, cool. I'm gonna take this tomorrow to my presentation to the researchers. I'm like,
And your name's
nice.
not on it? Your name is on it though, right?
No,
That
no, it's
sounds
not.
illegal. That sounds really illegal, to be honest.
I was taken for work for that, so everybody does it. So yeah,
Wow.
but I can write that into my CV, and that's pretty good because I can say, hey, I worked for those researchers, and you can ask my boss about that. Yeah, that's pretty good though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I I, I
Anyways,
I might need to bully someone for you on your part, on your half. I think you're too nice, but we'll have a conversation later about this.
maybe more.
But yeah, thank you. So, you finished with the presentation, with the power slice part, or
Yeah, I finished with
perfect
my work. Then next would be like my uh research
personal
of
interest?
interest. So
Yeah,
like, yeah,
that's okay. I just
exactly.
want to make sure that we're in the correct overlay. I do
Yes.
want to then just there was a question or two in the chat, for example. One of them
Hmm.
is Gramzel was asking, during these experiments, is the percentage of each component metal stable? That's the first part of the
Yeah,
question.
yeah. So the way that we do the research, you have a straight like you have one alloy, like one sample. You heat it up, and it always stays the same. Then you go to your next sample, which has a different percentage of your atom. You heat it up and repeat it, and then you continue the whole process, each with like increasing the percentage of the element that you want to research. This is how you do it. So if you want to construct a phase diagram, let's say from 0.5 carbon to 2.5 percent carbon, you have to have those intermediate steps of samples that have the
Mm-hmm.
percentage of carbon, like with the increasing amount.
Okay. The second part is like, and are you just running across a temperature gradient? Is that the only thing you're doing? Running across a temperature
Yes,
gradient? Okay.
yes. So you go from zero to the melting points, like so from zero to, for example, 1,600 something something.
Okay. And then my personal question, by the way, chat, if you want any questions on everything that Fizzy just presented, you have about 2-3 minutes to do so really quickly in the
No,
chat while I
no.
ask my special question. I want to know what alloys you're actually working. So you talked about iron and carbon, right?
Mm,
Which
yeah, that.
alloys do you work on? If
Oh,
you're
that.
allowed to say, by the way. If
I'm a
you're not
bit
allowed to
limited on
say,
that.
okay.
But I can tell you that alloys are not just iron and carbon. This is like the very, very basic thing that you learn in order to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Alloys have way, way more elements. We can have iron, molybdenum, tungsten, vanadium, chromium, sometimes like nickel, you name it. So the alloy is basically like a atom cocktail that
Mm-hmm.
you try to design. So you
Mm.
can have up to as many as you want, but um, with every additional element that you put into your alloys, the system just gets more and more complicated with
Okay.
more and more complicated phase transitions. So you kind of want to water it down a little when you do research because at some point you just stop comprehending what you're measuring.
Yeah, if there's too
Yeah,
many elements, if there's too many things, you don't know what's causing what.
exactly, exactly.
Now, we have two questions, so I'll grab. So, the question: have you made a katana in the lab when nobody was looking? Is one.
I would love to. We actually have a huge crucible um down like in the cellar,
Mm-hmm.
and we have like a whole huge sets of crucibles. Am I saying it correctly? I think I am. Wait, give me a sec. I'll
Mm-hmm.
translate it. Oven, a stove.
Oven.
What is a crucible? Okay, never mind.
A
Ovens.
crucible, I
That's
thought
that's the
was.
word.
Okay, okay.
That's the word. Sorry. Disregard the previous one. So we have like a whole set of ovens, and people like have can have huge samples. And I've been there live where they had like this huge open oven slash kettle
Mm-hmm.
with liquid metal, and people were like putting in a probe with um, oxygen, and like the sparks were flying around. That was pretty cool. Yeah, but no, I have not made my own katana, unfortunately.
Very unfortunate. And then finally, the last question is what happens at the critical point? So, do you know when you were showing
um,
the phase diagrams earlier?
mhm. The critical point is basically a phase transition. So, if you think back to water, the critical point would be when your liquid becomes vapor, or when your solid becomes liquid. This is like the critical temperature and pressure where you can have an equilibrium between two phases. So, imagine a water kettle and you are boiling your water,
Mm-hmm.
and you have your boiling points where you have both the vapor in the upper chamber and the liquids in the lower one. This would be a critical point
Mm-hmm.
because you have two phases at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much for asking those questions, chat. Thank you so much for sharing your research, Fizzy. It was really interesting. I
you're
think that
welcome.
was more educational than just even talking about your research. Teaching everyone here a general grasp of material science is fantastic. I haven't covered this in years, so this was great revision, and I learned something new. So yeah,
Glad I was able to do that.
yeah, absolutely brilliant. And then so that was your talk about your research, and then your
Yeah.
personal interest. What's your personal interest talk?
So, a bit of a background
Mhm.
story.
Story
When
time.
I story time. When I started studying, I did not know anything about material science. Like I did not know what it was, so
Mhm.
I went to like information fair at this uni, and they were talking about biomaterials, especially like implants, and I instantly got like sparkly eyes, like my god, I freaking love biology, and this sounds so interesting, and I gotta do that. What nobody told me is that this uni specializes in steels, so no biomats. So my personal interest is actually biomaterials, and I want to do
Wow.
my master's degree in biomaterials, um, which would be creating like tissue that you can implant, It would be creating implants themselves and like how compatible can you make your materials.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I'm personally interested in. When preparing this talk, I stumbled upon 3D printing of biological tissue. This is what I would like to talk about today because
Oh.
this blew my mind.
Do you
This
want
was
me to
pretty
share the
cool.
PowerPoint?
It's just one slide.
Yeah. Do you want me to
We
show it?
can, yeah. Sure, sure.
All right. I'm showing the slide of a bone, a bioprinting.
Yes.
Wow.
Um, so the picture and the writing don't correlate to each other. Bioprinting is actually something entirely different to the implant that you can see,
Okay.
because an implant is a foreign material that you insert into your body to
Yes.
replace, here for example, a broken hip bone. And you kind of try to design it in a way where your body accepts it and doesn't reject it, which it can be tricky. Therefore, there is a new research on bioprinting where you can print actual organic tissue that is made out of real cells that your body will most likely recognize as its own, and therefore you will not have the hassle of rejection
Mm.
and like just not being accepted. So yeah, well, this is basically the only the only slides that I want to show about that.
It's
You
still
can
really
switch the
cool.
cam if you want to.
Still very cool.
Yeah. Okay. Should I proceed?
Yeah. Continue, please. We're
Okay.
all listening.
Okay. So you know the problem of people when they have organ failure, for example, the most common ones are kidney failure, heart failure, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Where you need a donor to replace the organ,
Mm-hmm.
but there are not enough donors, and you have like a lot of problems to come to that.
Mm-hmm.
So some researchers have the solution of creating real organs from human tissue by yourself in the lab. Let that sink in. Creating real organs from scratch in the lab. I think this is already like,
But this is out of like growth. This is like growing the biomaterial. Like you take a little skin cell, right?
yes,
And then you put it
yes,
in a
yes.
petri dish and the skin grows. Like
Not
I'm
not exactly.
oversimplifying it.
Not precisely. This is why we come to bioprinting.
Mm-hmm.
So bioprinting is actually regenerative medicine,
Mm-hmm.
which means that you try to engineer, regenerate, and replace a human or animal tissue or organ.
Okay.
So the material is therefore the same as the original one, so or close to it, therefore it can't be rejected, just like as I said before. So you try to print it. You don't really you yeah, it's like growing, but you are actually creating it. So the way that it works is that you do have your cells
Okay.
of the organ that you want to create. For example, a meniscus. You take those cells from your donor, you replicate the cells, and then you create bio ink and you print out the organ. To understand that concept better, you can compare bioprinting with its technical cousin, 3D printing, which is very similar to like what you know, like the commercial 3D printing with polymers, where you have like a goop that you push through an extruder and you go line by line, like step by step, and you have like a three-dimensional structure.
Damn.
This this is the same. This is the same, and it's fucking genius. So instead of your polymer, you have bio ink, which is a water-rich molecules, also called hydrogels, mixed with living cells and chemicals that initiate growth and communication between cells. So when you print out your organ, you have a living material that is capable of growth and communication with its neighboring cells. I think this is where I got like starry eyes and I was like, I have to do this at some point. This bio ink can either be of a single cell for a single purpose or with multiple cells for multiple purposes. So it is possible for you to create organs, but on a very small level. I will come to that later. So, for example, if you want to replace your meniscus, which is a very soft tissue between your what you call them, knee bones,
Mm-hmm.
you extract a cell from a donor, you create the bio ink, and then you print out the organ, which is possible in 30 minutes, according to the video that I watched. And then you can insert this new organ tissue into your knee. And therefore, you didn't need to A, get a donor whom you've taken out the meniscus from, or B, take another tissue from your own body.
That's incredible. Wait, so is this a sound science? Is this like actually being used in medical
Yes,
fields already? Or is it still in the
yes,
testing phases?
this is real science. It's not science fiction.
I just mean, like, is it already being implemented in some hospitals? Is it already
On small scales,
on
yes,
small
on small
scale?
scales. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
still
still in
testing?
research.
Okay.
Yes, it's still in testing. It's still in research, so it's not as commercialized as normal medicine is.
Mm.
But the potential is there, of course. Or I can give you a personal example. I had 4 knee surgeries where I have ripped I think it's called ACL. Um, let me.
4 knee surgeries. You poor Crather. Jesus Christ.
Oh, it's called cruciate ligaments. Does it make sense?
No, and I don't want to know. Jesus, that sounds awful.
Okay, like it's it's a ligament in your knee that you need for rotation.
Okay.
Um, I was doing I was very active when I was a teenager, so I ripped this ligament a lot of times. And once you ripped it and it got
Mm-hmm.
replaced, it's not as stable as it was before.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to like take out different ligaments out of my both legs to replace it every time. And at some point, I just did not have enough ligaments anymore. So I had to have a donor one. So, for example, if you could just 3D printed it, I didn't have to have a donor, you know? Oh no, I'm sorry, your face went
That
too much
sounds
into detail. Sorry
awful.
about
And
that.
how are you now? Can you walk on it? Are you okay? Or
I'm fine. I'm totally healed. I'm fine. Don't
can you
worry.
do
I can.
sports?
Sorry?
Can you do sports?
Yes, I can. I can.
Okay.
I won't be able to do martial arts anymore, but I found something else.
Mm. That's so sad still to have such an injury. I'm so glad you recovered, of course, from it.
Yeah. I found a lot of other things to keep myself occupied, so it's not that bad.
Video games.
Video games. That's why I'm streaming.
Perfect, perfect.
Yeah, so that's the whole premise of 3D of bioprinting. Um, Currently, researchers were able to recreate, for example, like as I said, meniscus, bladder, lung, and skin,
Mm-hmm.
and some semi-functional organs in small scale. So they're not able to fully 3D print, for example, like a heart or a lung, because the state of current research, people still don't fully comprehend what actually is going on in the organs.
Okay.
So therefore, it's very hard to create something that can supply oxygen and nutrients into your
Mm-hmm.
organ. But this is something that that you can do in the future. So it has a lot of potential.
Mm.
Yeah,
I'm still
that's
so sad about your knee, though.
oh,
I'm distracted.
my knee's fine. My knee's fine.
Okay. I hope so. Whew.
Yeah, so that was my personal topic of interest, and
Damn.
I'm done with my part.
Wow. Okay. Well, we're not fully finished, but we are coming towards the end. So
Yeah.
can we get a clap in the chat for Fizzy? Clap, clap, clap. Where's my clap? I don't have a clap emote. I have a pom pom emote. I'll pom pom.
Pom pom. Pom pom shit. Pom pom shit.
There we go. Thank you also, by the way, for the follows, guys. There are no notifications at the moment because, you know, this is a podcast, so we're trying not to interrupt too much. And there's plenty of dancing happening in the chat.